What's going on, everyone? Welcome to my YouTube channel, and in this video I'm going to be breaking down a recent launch that I did for one of our clients, and we generated over $171,000 in sales just under 24 hours. Now, I'm going to be talking about the three main components that went into this launch to achieve results like this, and I'm also going to be talking about how we doubled our sales in just under 30 days. So kind of diving right into everything. The first thing I want to talk about, and I'm pretty sure you guys are wondering, hey Ahmed, like what did you launch? What product was this? Was it just e-commerce? So the first actual component to this launch was the product itself. And in this case, for this client, it was a educational coaching product. Now, usually when I'm sharing stuff like this, I lead with principles. I don't tend to like to talk about tactics or strategies and stuff like that. And the reason why is because the main component to really any business is your product. Marketing and selling and all these other things are secondary. And anyone that tells you otherwise is probably just lying to you, right? So there's no real secret or tactic. Those things do help, but those things only come into play when you have a solidified product. So ideally with the education business, the one thing that you want to understand and make sure is that the product that you're having or the business model ideally is right for you. So there's two main business models that go into an educational product, right? The first one is the self-paced course model, which is the more famous one that we've seen over time, right? The second one is probably not that popular. You may or may not have heard about this. It's called a cohort-based course. Now, they've been around for some time, but the idea is many people are just too accustomed to going with this first model just because it's the most popularized one. And that's the one thing that you want to make sure is that you're going with the right business model first for your education or coaching company. Now, the other thing you also want to keep in mind is everyone's goals are going to vary, and depending on if this is something that you just want to do on the side to have an income, or if you're actually wanting to scale this into a 7 or 8 figure business, these are things that you definitely want to think about first before even jumping into the figuring out email marketing and selling and stuff like that. So the main difference from these two is that the cohort-based course is basically a live course, or training, mastermind, bootcamp, whatever you want to call it. It's a course, it's a training, it's a program. The idea of any course necessarily, just to kind of give anyone an idea, is that someone is sitting here at their current situation and they want to get to their desired state. Your job as a course is to fulfill that outcome by driving them to their desired state. Here's the problem with most self-paced courses is that they have a tough time fulfilling that outcome. Now, with any business, if you're not able to deliver or help them accomplish that result, you're going to have a tough time staying in the game long term. And this goes back into, depending on your current situation, if you're a creator and you want to make this an education business a long-term business, you want to keep that main principle in mind, is you want to make sure that everyone's getting results. And the common trend that we've seen over time, and this is just a common statistic, is that they did a study and they noticed that only 30% of people actually complete any self-paced course. So people buy courses from, ranging from $49 all the way up to $1,000, and only 30% of them actually, complete it. The rest are kind of, they just give up or something comes up. So there's about 70% of people who don't finish their courses. And obviously, the likelihood of them achieving their desired state is going to be very, very low. So the one thing, going back to this, is again, you want to figure out which model is right for you. And the other thing that goes into play when deciding if the self-paced model is good or bad, and both of these models work, by the way. They just have their pros and cons, and you want to basically determine which one's the best model for you. I've seen successful self-paced course businesses, but usually these courses are structured really well, and they have a lot of volume and traffic. So any creator that's probably selling it or creating it has a lot of volume and traffic driven to this course. And the reason why this is a really compelling business model is a lot of people feel that, I just have to record a bunch of videos once and then I get to sell this as much as I can. And I have this, extra stream of income, which is totally fine. But at the same time, if you're going for longevity and you want to have a much more sustainable, predictable education business, you'd kind of want to explore the cohort-based model. And I'll explain this a bit more and show you guys why this is helpful and why this is kind of just overall beneficial to both the business and the people taking it. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that you do want to scale past 6 and 7 figures and you want to scale your cohort-based business, but you're a small creator. Now, for this client in particular, kind of tying things back to this client, had a small email list of only 2,000 people. Now, the other thing I also kind of want to frame, and I don't want to get into email marketing in this video too much, but the email list size doesn't necessarily matter. I see a lot of people who approach me and they're like, hey, Ahmed, I have over 100,000 people on my email list, but that email list is usually very low quality. And what I mean by low quality is usually most of these people are uninterested. They don't have the buying power, meaning they're not ready to make a buying decision. And they're most likely in it just to receive free value, which is fine. But that list most likely isn't going to have a really high conversion rate. And then I see email lists like this that are really small, but are able to do results like the ones we did and generate over 171K in sales. So the email list number doesn't matter. What comes back to the equation is how well is your product and which product do you have in the first place? So for this client, we went with the cohort-based model. Now, this wasn't the first time this client did a mastermind, and I'll explain later in this video why that's important. But the main thing that you want to keep in mind with this is that the cohort-based course, because it's live, there's a lot more. Well, this kind of ties into our next bullet point, which is pricing and offer. I'll get back to that in a minute. But kind of again, summarizing the email list part, the 2,000, it's a small, because this client had a small list, it only made sense for a cohort-based course to be the option that we go for, right? Now, the other thing with the cohort-based course is, before we jump into pricing and offer, you get to determine how many people are actually able to attend or take your course, number of students or customers. Now, anyone that has a skill or expertise in one industry or several, whatever the case is, let's just say you're really good in real estate, or let's just say you're really good at sales, or whatever industry or niche or design, whatever it might be, let's just say you possess a skill. And you have, I'm assuming most people know at least 10 or 20 people in their life. But social media gives us the ability to access a lot more people. So let's just say or you have access to about 1,000 people. What most people get wrong is that they jump straight into a self-paced course model and try to sell to the masses. They try to make as much money as they can, and usually they see that course kind of start out strong because there's a lot of hype and a lot of noise around it. So they usually start off strong and then they plateau, and then usually that course just comes sinking down until it's basically priced at zero. So people do discounts and sales, which I'll kind of talk about that in a minute as well, about sales and discounts. But usually what I see is courses just burn down to the ground to the point where it's just worth $0 and it's selling for free at that point. It's just on the bookshelf. What you want to do instead is you want to have a proof of concept, right? We'll just come back to this later. You want to have a proof of concept. And what I mean by proof of concept, just like in any business, you want to see if your product works. I'm pretty sure BMW or Mercedes, they don't just release a car before they don't test it. And the same way for you, you want to make sure that your course or whatever you're offering gets people to that desired, happy outcome that they're looking for. So instead of trying to sell to the masses and trying to build a massive following, and this kind of relates to the email list of you don't really need to have a huge following or a huge email list or brand to sell a cohort-based course, is that you want to just start working with one person. And you want to walk that person to the finish line, right? Kind of make a flag, I guess. And that's the finish line. And you want to see, and the good thing about working with one person is because it's one-on-one, you're not devaluing yourself. You're actually increasing your value because it's personal. And you can charge a lot more when it's one-on-one. And we'll get into pricing and offer in just a second. But because it's personal, you can charge a lot more. So instead of selling and underselling yourself for a course for $49 or $100, you're selling a high ticket product now. And you're basically still getting compensated rightfully for your time. You're not doing yourself a disservice, because that's the one thing you want to make sure is you're not doing yourself a disservice. And you're also not doing a disservice to this one person, because you're just taking them under your wing and you're trying to figure out if your product actually gets them to the end result. Because usually when creating a product, people have a bullet list of, I want to have this video, this video, this video in my curriculum. And they usually think that the curriculum is going to do the selling for them. Usually, and people usually get stuck at the curriculum too, because they want to make sure that it's the perfect course before they ship it out. What this allows you to do with the cohort-based model is that you're basically developing your course as you're kind of helping this person. You get to see what's working, what's not. And by the time this person is done, what you've kind of already accomplished is you have a testimonial now. You have one person that will go to anyone and say, hey, I worked with this person, John or Bob, whatever this person's name is, and he helped me get to this desired state. So you have a testimonial, and you can leverage that testimonial. You could probably do an interview with this person, and now you're leveraging this person, and you have a proof of concept. Proof of concept. So once you do that, now more people are interested, because they see that the perceived likelihood of achieving that desired outcome is a lot higher, because this person right here was able to achieve it. So if that person can, maybe I can too. And now you're kind of just expanding your horizon. So now you worked with one person, and then now you can start maybe working with a group of 2 to 3 or even 5 people, right? Let's just say you're working with 6 people now. You went from one person to working with 6. And then you can eventually scale that 6 into 12 and then maybe 20. Now, I've seen cohort-based courses, just to give you guys an idea, scaled all the way up to even 400 people. Now, managing 400 people at once and still trying to deliver that one-on-one experience is really hard to do. And the only way you can do that, honestly, is because as you kind of put in the reps and you kind of go through that phase of working with one person, then 6, then 12, then 20. And as you're working with more people, you're able to adjust your tolerance as an educator, as a business owner, and you're able to now include more team members, people that can help you along the journey. But that's kind of just a skill. But I want to just give you guys an idea that a cohort-based course doesn't mean that you are limited to how much you can make and how much you can scale into, just like we did with this client. So that's kind of talking about the product. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the pricing and offer. This is the second main component. Okay, so pricing. Let's just say at this point, you've already built out the product, you worked with one person already, you helped them achieve the results, and now you're at that place where you want to work with a lot more people. Let's just say you want to work with 6 people or 12 people now, and this is where you want to have a more solidified product. Now, The other thing I see people rush into is jump into marketing and trying to create a fancy website to appeal to a lot of people, which is important, but you also want to factor in if it's the right thing to do at the current moment. So the pricing and offer. And this is probably the most one of the essential parts of a business is determining what's your pricing. And usually a lot of people just wing this and just kind of just shoot out a price and have no justification for it. But pricing is just another way of positioning. And I'll explain what that means. Now, let's just say your goal is to 10x your sales. And let's just say this course is about sales. The perceived likelihood of you 10xing your sales with a $49 course is probably really low. And the reason why, it's not discrediting the course at all. It's probably a phenomenal course. But that's not enough probably to achieve that transformation. Now, when you're having a course that's maybe $2,000 plus, or even $1,000 plus, or anywhere in the 4-figure range, now that's more appealing. Because as humans, psychologically, we start judging people, we start judging products, we judge everything the minute we're looking at it. So when we look at a $49 product, usually most people have already tried and tested products that are $49, and the outcome just wasn't there. So now, because your product is priced super low, people are starting to associate beliefs that they previously had with your product. And usually what you'll see is most courses don't have the price point of $2,000. Nowadays, you'll probably see a lot more of this, but still fairly low compared to the lower price point. And maybe this course is like $100 or $400. Again, the number can vary. But again, it's a psychological thing. When any price point goes over 4 figures or over $1,000, the dynamic of selling and buying changes. There's a lot more required in order to sell someone. Now, the good thing about having a cohort-based course is you're able to justify this pricing much more better compared to this. Usually with self-paced courses, the only thing, again, people are using to really sell it is their brand, if that's there, and the curriculum. And if they have previous results, they use testimonials, which usually gets the job done, right? But again, if we're going for longevity here and we're looking to scale this education business beyond 7 figures, that's not going to be enough. And again, it's just going to come down to the market size and how many people and how much volume you have. Again, you can achieve that with that business, but much harder to do if you don't have a lot of volume and traffic. Now, when it comes to a $2,000 price point with the pricing, and again, pricing is always going to be determined on how much value you're offering too. That doesn't mean just going ahead and offering a 4-figure price point. I just want to clarify that. Just because it's more enticing and you're kind of establishing that category of one, sometimes people start overpricing themselves, and that price just does not equate to that value. So you need to justify this price before you go to market, and it needs to be well thought out and well priced out, right? In this example, I just want to communicate the difference between a low ticket offer and a high ticket offer. Now, kind of going a bit more and relating this to a cohort-based course and how the offer part kind of connects to the pricing is with a $2,000 offer. Let's just say, if I was to tell you to pick course A and B, right, for $2,000, and I'd say this is the difference. Course A, this is a self-paced model. Self-paced. And then this is the cohort-based course. I want to ask you, as a buyer, as a viewer, which one of these is more compelling to you for a $2,000 price range? And again, I'm just using $2,000 as an example, but let's just say there's the course videos, right? And let's just add a community to it, and you get access to the community. That's usually where most self-paced courses end. Some don't even have a community. They just have videos to offer. Now, with that being said, usually because of who that person is who's instructing or selling that course, because if it was someone, let's just say like Mark Cuban, that would still be a very valuable course to most people. Now, the value is coming not from the course, but from the brand. Now, let's just take the cohort-based course. In this, the course is live. It's a small group of people. So that means more personal communication with the instructor. And then we can add more stuff and package the cohort-based course, private community. We can also say there'll be, if it's a small enough group, one-on-one feedback. You can have, weekly office hours. And you can even have probably a guest who's experienced in that niche, right? If you let's just say are having a sales course and you have a really experienced entrepreneur who's good at sales, you have them as a guest, that just adds to the offer. My point with this is most likely you'll probably go with, unless that's Mark Cuban, let's just say the Mark Cuban course, you'll probably go and settle with this course, right? If the brand and everything wasn't there and if it was just a self-paced course, most of the time people will settle for a course that has all these things associated with it. And the idea is that you're basically productizing and packaging your course in a way to justify, again, that price point. And each thing basically helps convict the person that who's ever making this decision that the likelihood is much higher. And because you have all these factors, there's one-on-one feedback, there's a private community, small group of people, so it's more personal, there's live classes, whatever it might be, now you've kind of convinced me a little bit more and justified that the price is worth it. But I'm still not there yet. There's still something there that's not just convincing me. All of these parts are great. These are all features or benefits of the course. And it's just like, okay, good enough, but I'm still not there yet. I'm not ready to buy. And this is how you want to kind of focus on your offer, right? So we talked about the pricing. We talked about how to justify your price, how to package your course, the difference between a self-paced course and a cohort-based course. And now I want to talk a little bit about how we can use the offer to get people over the edge. Usually what happens is people have a good product. They check that off the box. The pricing is there. Okay, it's justifiable. Then the offer is just shit. The offer just doesn't do the job. So let's focus on how we can make an offer. And when we're looking at an offer, we want to see if we can make this offer a no-brainer. Now, what I mean by that is if you were to look at something, and let's just say going back to this course, what would be a thing that would make this a no-brainer decision for you? And there's multiple ways to do this, but the main reason why someone isn't buying here is because there's not enough trust built. That person does not believe that that product is for them, and we want to do that. So usually people are skeptical. They don't believe that they're going to be able to achieve that goal, whatever it might be. And we want to build that trust. And how can we do that? One way we can do is offer a guarantee. When we offer someone a guarantee, we're like, hey, listen, if you were to take this course for $2,000, this mastermind, and let's just say it's a 6 weeks long mastermind, and you come to me after the 6-week mastermind and you tell me, hey man, it just didn't help me. This course wasn't for me. I didn't move the needle and I've done everything possible. I'll give you your money back. Now, instantly, I have less to lose. My guard is down. I understand why the product is priced at that point. The trust is now established as well because I have a guarantee to fall back on as a buyer. So you want to think about, again, how can you make that offer a no-brainer? And now I want to go into the last kind of part, which is the marketing and selling. Now, I leave marketing and selling to the last part of the three main things, right? Now, the one thing I want to first explain is, what is marketing? And that's because many people oftentimes confuse marketing for, running ads, social media, email marketing, and those are all part of marketing, but usually those are all just vehicles, right? These are the thing that's just going to drive you to the end result that you're looking to do. So when it comes to defining marketing, what it actually means, helping someone get what they want. Now, seems simple, but usually most people overlook it. And that's because marketing's definition and everything over time has been lost through all these noise and everyone focusing on TikTok, social media, and all of those, again, are part of marketing. But when it comes to selling, this type of marketing is crucial. And when I say that, basically, we want to use our marketing to do most of the heavy lifting so we don't have to do much selling. Selling and marketing have a very close relationship. So the better job we do of communicating our product and giving people what they want, essentially, giving someone what they want, our job of selling becomes a lot easier. So let me give you an example and show you guys what I actually mean, and how you guys can actually achieve that when it comes to launching a course. So the way I look at it, and the way the method I use, and I didn't create this, it's just something that I've picked up over time, is by creating a runway. And this is your marketing runway. And let's just say we're using the 80-20 rule here, and we want marketing to do 80% of the work, and we have a little bit of selling at the end. Now, I just want to preface, for like this client, we didn't have any sort of sales process or getting someone on a call or a discovery call and try to close them. It was purely just marketing. The offer, the product, the pricing, and then lastly, the caveat is the marketing. So in this situation, we essentially had to do no selling. It was just the last day when we had to make the ask, which is also very important. A lot of people spend so much time giving and doing marketing that they forget the actual main part, which is making the sale. So when the sale actually was probably a small percentage, but it was only at the end of the marketing runway. Now, let's just say, because you're a cohort-based course, or any course, let's just say you're launching on the 31st. What I like to have is a 30-day runway. So usually what happens is most people probably start marketing around the 29th or the 30th in this case, the 30th, the 29th, just a few days before they actually launch, right? And they probably just make a simple post and probably, try to just say, hey, like, we're launching this course, here you guys go. But to maximize your results and make sure that this launch does super well, you want to make sure that the email list, and something we talked about earlier, in this situation, let's just say you have for your course a wait list of people, and you should, because this is going to be your main communication channel. You don't want to just rely on social media, but you want to have a wait list or people who have applied, depending on the complexity of your course and stuff, a wait list of people. What you want to do to that wait list is you want to start marketing to them 30 days prior to the course. And when I say marketing, I don't mean selling. So I'm not pitching them and I'm not trying to convince them why we're the best, but we are trying to instill these beliefs that will help them make a decision on the 31st. And when I say beliefs, I mean giving them testimonials, showing them interviews done with students, making the experience more relatable, educating them about how the product is going to help them do this, how the product works. You can offer along the way maybe a private exclusive webinar just to your waitlist. And again, all you're doing, and this is kind of where the jab, right hook kind of kicks in, you're just jabbing, and you're going to jab all the way through, just provide value and stay relevant. This wait list of, let's just say if it's just 1,000 people or even 100 people, need to be informed and well aware that you're going to be launching on the 31st. They need to know that and be convinced by the time you get there. So by the time you're halfway through this 30-day runway, and let's just say you offer a webinar here and whatever the case, most of the time people are ready to go, right? And people will usually tell you like, hey, Ahmed, if people want to buy here, why not just start closing them there? And sure, you can start doing that. But usually what you'll notice is not everyone is going to be at that buying stage, right? There's different stages of buying. And if you look at a funnel, there are people over here that probably will buy, but then there's people at the top over here who are not, right? They still need convincing. They don't trust you yet. They don't think that this product is right for them. And you need to do a well enough job, and kind of going back into the definition of marketing is giving them what they want, right? So I'm assuming your wait list and people that have applied for your course or your cohort-based course believe that this is something that they need, but they don't know how this will help them. And your job is to get them through this funnel and convince them by giving them these beliefs, by making sure that you're the right course for them. Because if you're not, then the sale won't happen at all, right? And you want to do that over this time. And when you accomplish that, when you do launch, you'll maximize your results. Now, something I mentioned at the beginning of this video was I'll also talk about how we went from doing 90K on the first launch, roughly, I believe, forgot the exact amount, and then the 171K on the last launch. Now, this was done, I believe, within 30 days. So we had launched previously. And within 30 days, we conducted the mastermind, and then we did a second one. We opened enrollment again for 170 for this launch over here that we did 171K for. Now, the main difference, because this was about a 2x increase in growth, was one thing, and that was credibility. When we did it the first time over here, many people didn't trust the product well enough yet. Although we had a significant amount of sales and we almost touched 6 figures, people didn't trust the product enough because it wasn't put into action yet. They wanted to see how many people can actually achieve, again, the results that they were looking for. And when we were finished with the first launch of the course, throughout that time of conducting the mastermind, we didn't just ignore the list. We kept them in the loop. The people that didn't convert obviously didn't convert because there was some reason, whatever that reason might have been. Could have been price, could have been that they didn't trust us, but usually it comes down to trust, right? They aren't convinced. They need more convincing. And people will buy when they're ready. You can't really force a sale or persuade people into buying, right? I know people have a lot of, their own opinions, but based on what I've seen, and through my experience, I've kind of learned that if someone isn't ready to buy it, you shouldn't want to force them. You want to show them that this is the course or product that's right for them, and they'll eventually come to that decision themselves. So because we were going through this process, we were showcasing the behind the scenes of how the course works, right? So another thing is that people are usually making 2 decisions when it comes to buying, and that's a emotional decision and a logical one. And the problem was, emotionally, they're probably convinced that they can achieve X result, or they want to achieve X result. That's the emotional gap, right? But the logical gap is the how. I understand that I want this result and you can help me get there, but how will that be possible? People need to see how the product works. Now, just because it's a digital product doesn't mean we can't showcase that. Or even if it's a live product. So we showed the behind the scenes. We were nurturing that list, keeping them informed. And by the time we were ready and completed this mastermind, there was a ton of results, feedback from it, which we leveraged going into the next launch. And because of that simple reason and the behind the scenes, we were able to double our growth. So that's summarizing the three main components and everything that went into this launch. But everything stems from the first thing we talked about. All these things we talk about don't work alone, right? So it starts with the product, it goes into your pricing, your offer, and then it goes into the marketing and how well you're doing explaining and instilling those beliefs inside of your audience and showcasing that this is the right product for them. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know what else you guys that want to learn about or hear more about, whether that's email marketing, more about sales, and I'll definitely consider that for the next video that I do. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next video.